finish off the week actually with the Banks of My Own Lovely Lee. Or in a few minutes' time, maybe the great Jack Brierley might be able to sing a couple of verses of the Banks. Actually, why don't we find out now? Jack, good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
Is that the music legend Jack Brierley that I know and love for so many years?
Absolutely.
Oh my God. How have you been, pal?
I'm keeping good, Neil. Very good, thank God.
So, you were born in Cove?
I was born in Cove on the 14th of July 1931
Wow.
in a place called Brierley Terrace, 22 Brierley Terrace. And I lived there then with my mother and father and brother Brendan until we grew up.
Okay, so tell us about your mum and dad.
Yeah, when my dad was an electrician, and my mother was from Middleton, funnily enough, and they met each other in the Commodore Hotel. I think it was known then as the States Hotel in Cove. And my mother was a chef, and my father was an electrician, and my father used to play the drums in the Commodore Hotel with a little group, and I think that's how they met.
Wow, okay. And Brendan, was he in the music?
He was. He played drums then when he grew up, and he was with me and my dad on radio. From Radio M in 1951, we had our very first broadcast from the old women's jail, believe it or not. In Cork.
Okay.
And we used to be on every Monday night in a program called Late But Light. It was just a non-stop music program. I was on piano, Brendan was on drums, and my father was on the xylophone. He played with that.
Super. So tell me about school. Were you good at school? Did you go to school?
Good at school, I was useless. I'll tell you a funny story about school. I went down one morning anyway, and I used to never do an exercise. And I was always putting up my hand that I'd done the right answer for the sums until the headmaster asked me, he said, Brierley, what is your answer to question number 9? So I hadn't a clue. So he knew I was lying, so he went up. He said, go up, I want to speak to your mother. Go up and get your mother. And I went up, Ma'am was above, she was washing clothes or something. He said, Ma'am, the headmaster wanted to talk to you about me. So she came down anyhow, and he gave out this thing to her anyhow, but I was useless, and I was not doing any exercises and everything else. So about a month afterwards, there was a competition for storytelling. What do they call the? You'd write
An essay.
An essay, yeah. And it was all in Irish. It was to win a scholarship in Ballingeary for 3 weeks in the Gaeltacht. And he came in, the headmaster came in, and he said, boys, I have news for you. He said, the winner of the Gaeltacht competition, you won't believe it, he said, is Brierley. He's after winning the competition. Go up and ask your mother, tell her come down to me again, I want to talk to her. So I went up again, and I said, ma'am, the headmaster wants you again.
And she thought it was more trouble.
Oh, she said, Jesus, here we go again. She came, and he just wanted to know, would she leave me go for the 3 weeks down to Ballingeary. And I went there for 3 weeks in the Gaeltacht.
Whoa.
So that was that. He said to me, Brierley, you're the star, but by Jesus, you never shine.
How long was he? Huh?
I don't know.
And then you were an altar boy.
I was an altar boy. Believe I didn't become a priest. But I was an altar boy after a couple of years. Yeah, it was all right.
It was all right. Any stories attached to that, no?
No, not really, no.
So, Dad, you had a brother called Brendan.
That's right.
So, can you tell us a little bit about him?
Brendan was a lovely young lad. He was very fond of sport. And then he was a drummer in my group when we were young. And he qualified as an electrician. He worked in Dunlop's. And on one Sunday night, he left Cove on the train to meet his girlfriend, who lives in Danmire. So he got off at Dunkettle railway station. And as he was walking along towards her, she was coming towards him as well on the road. He was knocked down by a car and he was killed. So it was a very unfortunate, and he was only 20 when that happened. That was 1957.
And he was a drunk driver?
Obviously, yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. The unfortunate part about it, and I've always said this throughout the years, is that there were 3 fellas in the van that killed him. And they went to court and they got fined £5. And they got 3 months to pay in case they didn't have enough money. What an injustice of the country. Anyway, that's another story. Another one called Irish Love. Yeah, well, Captain Thomas Brierley was, excuse me, the captain of a tugboat called the Flying Fish, based in Cove. And the night that the Lusitania was torpedoed off the old head of Kinsale, he and his crew members went out to the old head of Kinsale and rescued survivors, both living and dead, and brought him back to Cove, and he done that for a couple of hours. And as a matter of fact, he was awarded a medal for his bravery in doing that. And no, I never met him because he had died before I was born, but I believe he had 13 children. 2 died apparently, but 11 lived. And obviously my father was the youngest of the 11. And he died young, actually. He died when he was only 57, I think. Which is very young for a captain like that. As I said, I never met him, but I'm very proud that he was awarded that medal and for his work that he done on that day for the rescue of the survivors.
And I believe there's bits and pieces in Cove Museum?
I believe so. Yes, I want to pay a visit down there shortly. Apparently he lived in 19 O'Reilly Terrace, and he married a girl called Margaret O'Donovan. And as I said, they had 13 children. And I was born in 22 O'Reilly Terrace, where my mother and father lived. And George Brierley was living in number 20 O'Reilly Terrace. So they should have been called Brierley Terrace and the mine O'Reilly Terrace. But he was buried out in the old church in Cove. As he has his own grave, obviously, it's a Brierley grave, but he's alongside the victims of the...
Okay, so if anyone is looking to find out anything, call to Cove Museum and hopefully you'll be able to pick up some information.
Absolutely, yeah. I started playing when I was 17, I suppose, 18. And there was the Tower Ballroom in Cove. And I was in the Central Ballroom in Cove, that was up Middleton Street. And there was another place called the Shack in Cove, and that was in it's just off of Bishop Street. But there were 3 ballrooms there, and I played at 3 of them for a couple of years. And then I was lucky enough to be picked up by the Regal show band from Bantry. They played in Cove, they heard me playing. And I joined them, in 1954, and I was with them for 5 years.
Wow.
Until 1959. I left them in 1959, and then I formed my own band. And I had to move to Cork, because we couldn't play in Cork unless you were living in Cork. So we moved to Cork in 1961, up to Douglas. And then we formed my own band, and I went resident in the Arcadia Ballroom for a couple of years, and I was resident in the Palm Court Ballroom for a couple of years. Okay, well, from the mid-60s onwards, it was all sort of cabaret in different pubs, sing songs. You accompanied people who used to come up and sing, which was great because you had a great variety of singers during the night. And then that lasted up to about 1966, 67. And then in 1968, a new nightclub opened in Cork called the Stardust Club. And I became the resident band, if you like, to play there 6 nights a week. And we were accompanying guest artists that used to appear there as well. They used to come from Dublin, all over the place, north of Ireland, every week. And the master of ceremonies for the nightclub was Billa O'Connell. And Billa was a great master of ceremonies, actually. He's very good. And we met some lovely artists that appeared there. Obviously, funnily enough, Shea Healy was there. He was a guest artist. Maxie Dick and Twink were guest artists. A girl called Marjorie Manners. She was in an old-time music hall artist in London. She appeared there. Dave Glover and Muriel Day appeared there. And there was many more, I can't remember now, but that was a great era. And then, unfortunately, the Stardust was kind of ahead of its time, because it closed in 1970. And again, I was lucky enough to get, how will I put this? I was first of all lucky enough I was supposed to have a German drummer by the name of Benno Hausmann. He was playing drums. And we happened to get a gig down in a place called Hotel Europe in Killarney. And the manager of Hotel Europe of Killarney was a German. His name was Mr. Schwartz. And when he heard the band, he asked me to know would I be interested in becoming resident band in the Europe for the summer season. So I was, lucky enough. I had Benno on drums, I had Len McCarthy on saxophone, I had myself on piano, and I had Marco on trumpet. A lovely band. So we got the residency job in Hotel Europe, and my goodness, I met again some marvellous people there. As a matter of fact, we were playing there one night, and there was a man called Maurice Jarre, who actually wrote the music of Dr. Zhivago. He was staying actually in Hotel Europe, writing the music of a film called Ryan's Daughter. So we were playing away downstairs anyway this night, and the waiter came up. He said, Maurice Jarre is after coming in with his wife. So of course we played Somewhere My Love, and he wove up to us, and I wove back, and he sent up a message to know would I join him for a drink afterwards. And I did, and a lovely man he was. I sat with him for about an hour, talking about music and about films, and he was telling me his life story in Hollywood and how he met his beautiful wife, and he knew that woman that was, what was her name? She was killed by Manson. Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate. They were next door neighbours of his, actually, over in Hollywood. But he was a lovely man. And then another night, a man by the name of Mike Aspel was staying there. Mike Aspel was the fellow, This Is Your Life. He had the book, This Is Your Life. And he was staying in Hotel Europe for the fortnight. And we became great friends. And I met some lovely people again down there in the Europe Hotel. So the Europe finished then in about 1972. And then we done the Kilkenny Beer Festival. And that lasted again for another couple of years. That was another great sort of week. Again, there was guest actors there, and we used to play for the dancing, and that was a great scene, actually, the Kilkenny Beer Festival. That brought us up to the mid-70s. Well, I was a taxi driver in Cove, 1952 on, and while I was sitting in the taxi ranks all day long waiting for jobs, I noticed this girl coming out of a hairdressing saloon where she worked. It was a place called Diana Dillon's, and she used to wear a pink uniform, but she used to come out and walk along what we call the beach. And I noticed her, obviously, and I began to make inquiries to know who she was, and I found out she was one of the Chandlers that lived up in Mirview.
And the Chandler twins.
And that she was a twin. Her name was Frances, and she had a twin sister called Kathleen. So after a while, then I began to know what happened then. Was I was playing music in the Tower Ballroom, and the next minute I noticed her coming in with her sister, and that's how we met, actually, while I was playing music in the Tower, and she used to come to the dance. I'd be waving down at her, and she'd be waving up at me, and then she'd be out on the floor clinging into some fella, and
Or she was off.
I got mad. But that's how we met. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, so then the dating proceeded, and
The dating proceeded.
I presume there was a proposal.
The dating that time was I could go for the walk and holding hands, and that was it. If you had a kiss me, Jesus, you were committing mortal sin. By the priests, anyway, we call it company keeping. Well, it's like today. Anyway, but that's how we met. We used to go to a place called the Water's Edge, this little seaside walk
Left our family
in
up
Cove.
before they get married.
Huh? But I know I'm ashamed to say I can't remember if I proposed or not. Jesus, it's 64 years now. No, 67 years since we first met. It's 64 years married, but it's 67, 68 going with each other like.
It was a long time back then, wasn't it?
I can't remember how we proposed. Don't think I proposed.
No.
We didn't have to that time. We were in love.
So you bought a ring?
Huh?
Did you buy a ring?
Oh, we did. Well, we weren't engaged. We were engaged then. For how long, France?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. I thought it was best. One to
Yeah.
whatever. But that's how we met. It was grand. We
And then
got married then in 1958. And 24th of June 1958. We had a honeymoon in Ennis.
wow.
Jesus, Ennis. We got married at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I think it was on a Tuesday morning. I was at the Regal Show Band that time, actually, from Bentry. And One of our favourite songs you might hear in the background was Three Good Reasons. That's why it's on Why I Love You. And we had our wedding reception in the Commodore Hotel in Cove. And we got married at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Westbourne Road.
Oh, I beg your pardon. It was the Westbourne Hotel, yeah. Westbourne. I ain't getting bothered. And we left the Westbourne at 3 o'clock on our honeymoon, which was in Innis. And I should tell you how innocent we were. We arrived in Innis and it was 6 o'clock, I don't know, something, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And the first night we went out to the pictures.
That wouldn't happen now.
No, don't ask me what the picture was. I didn't sure what the... Like, Jesus, you won't be going to the pictures now, I can tell you. But out to the pictures, I never forget it. But that's where we started our honeymoon in Ennis. Then we went up to Galway, and then we went to Connemara, doing a little tour of the west. And then we came back to Tramore, because that's where the Regal were based for the summer. We were doing 6 nights a week in Tramore, so we lived in Tramore then for a couple of months.
Wow.
No.
You got around, didn't you? We can't go from... Well, at least now we can get around the county. But, like, you really broke... That's like a holiday now to us with COVID in 2021. So, I presume then you bought a house, or did you...
No. We lived in a house, yeah. My father and mother, I think he gave me a present of a house. I think he had a house in number 6 Westview. And we lived there for a couple of years.
Jackie was born there.
And Jackie, our eldest daughter, was born there. 6 Westview. And then we moved to Douglas in Cork in 1961. Because at that time I had formed my own band, and you could not play in Cork unless you had a second band with you in Cork. So there was nobody going to hire 2 bands if they wanted me. So I decided to move from Cove and move up to Cork and get a permanent address. A box of mixed biscuits.
A mixed box of biscuits.
Box of biscuits and a biscuit mixer.
No, say it fast.
A box of mixed biscuits, a biscuit box of mixed biscuit box. 7 daughters we had indeed. There was Jackie, there was Frankie, there was Karen, there was Lillian, there was Brenda, there was Marion, and there was Emer. And then we were blessed with 11 grandchildren. And here we go now. Oh my God, there was Aoife, there's Kelly, there's Richard, there's Sean, there's Kevin, there's Lily May, there's Jack, there's Hannah, there's Sophie, there's Mark, and Aaron. And I think that's about it. That was the 11 of them.
Wow.
And we're expecting a great grandchild in September
Of 2021.
in
Brilliant.
2021. So we look forward to that immensely. Jackie, God love her, she had a lovely life as well. She used to work in the hotel business, and unfortunately, God love her, she got cancer. And she passed away in 2019, wasn't it? I think 18. Yeah, 2018, sorry. And she had a lovely life as well. She used to work in hotels, and she met a lot of people that I knew as well that were involved in the hotel business, and that was it. And
which of the girls would sing with you, if any of them would?
Brenda used to sing with me then. We used to do a few gigs, especially in the jazz weekend up in the Bodega, and we used to do Scots, and we used to do the Imperial Hotel, yeah, for the jazz weekend. And we had a great time. She's a fine singer. She doesn't sing now anymore either. They all have music, yeah, they would, of course, yeah, they would. I'd be surprised if they didn't.
It's in our genes.
And Frances is a grand singer, like she's a beautiful singer, but she did. She always puts herself down as being a bad singer, but she's not. She's a lovely singer. And she love. She's too shy.
Yeah. So, Dad, you were very involved with the national song contests, writing songs, entering songs, and Eurovision.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the year 1968. I met George Crosby, a friend of mine, and we said we'd had a little chat and then we'd enter a song into the National Song Contest for Eurovision, so we did. And it was accepted, and we came second. It was a song called Kinsale, Mending My Nets in Kinsale, and we were beaten by 1 point. Otherwise, we'd have won it. We didn't. That was 1968. And then in 1970, we entered again with a song called Irish Love. It was sung by John McNally. And that was the year, actually, that Dana won it with all kinds of everything. And we came third to Dana, which wasn't bad. So I had a second and a third. And then in 1973, we entered again with a song called Do I Dream? And that was sung by Maxi. And that won the National Song Contest, and we represented Ireland in Luxembourg for the Eurovision. We came 10th, which I suppose in this days for Ireland isn't too bad. But at least we enjoyed it immensely. It was grand.
But she didn't do her best performance, so she didn't.
No,
on the night.
There was a bit of controversy over the tempo of the song. She didn't want to sing to the wrong tempo, which of course was only all balderdash because she didn't get the right tempo. But whatever the reason, we never know, and we don't know why she done it. We don't.
So you didn't even nearly win.
No, we didn't nearly win. No, she did not. No, she did not give her best performance. But I mean, she's a lovely girl, a lovely singer. But I think her management had a lot to say in it. Other than that, I can't say anymore.
So Tops of the Town was another huge countrywide entertainment variety show competition. You were involved in shows here?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That was a marvellous competition because it brought out the best of talent from every aspect. You had different firms like Sunbeam Woolsey, Ford's, Carrigaline Pottery, Cork Examiner, other different place I can't remember, but the talent was really excellent and the competition was fierce. And everybody, they hated one another in one sense, and then they loved one in another sense. But we were lucky enough to win Tops of the Town in 1978. I think it was the first Tops of the Town that was televised, and we were on television, and we won it. I won it with Carrigaline Pottery. And Noel McCarthy, he was the producer of the show. He was an excellent producer as well. And we were delighted, of course, to win. We beat it. Aer Lingus was the company that we beat. And we had some great talent in that show as well. And I really feel it really deserved to win it.
There was a scene with the Carrigaline Pipe Band.
The Carrigaline Pipe Band, and Mae Murphy was a girl who sung. She sung Mulligan Tire, and if you can imagine the whole pipe band, whole Carrigaline Pipe Band, about 30 of them, and she dressed in a kilt and she's singing Mulligan Tire, and it was a wonderful scene. And then the band played a number called Scotch on the Rocks. And they done a marching sequence, and it was really wonderful. Really wonderful. They really deserved to win. They did. Tops of the town, yes, indeed. And again, that faded away. And that's where I want to take you. I'm no fool, keeping cool, fishing all day through April and May down the pool, Drake's pool. I can sit at my ease and surrounded by trees, where the water is smooth and so clear, untouched by the breeze that blows in from the seas, though the ocean is ever so clear. I'd sunbathe and float, or I'd anchor my boat, or play on my Spanish guitar, and the notes of my music re-echo and float to the loveliest lady by far. And then, in 1981, we started in the country club. So, I used to play up in a place called the Crystal Lounge, this mortal bar, and I had a fellow by the name of Bobby Seward playing drums up there with me. And we decided to approach the country club anyway, and we started ballroom dancing on a Wednesday night, just the two of us. I was on organ, he was on drums. And every Wednesday night, it was 1981, and believe it or not, that lasted until 1993. 12, 13 years,
Wow.
every Wednesday night. No, he wasn't with me for that. He only lasted about a month because I got in a different drummer and I got in a sax player, so there was a saxophone, drums and organ. And we lasted for 13 years, every Wednesday night, and it was a great crack. Especially for the old-time dancing, old-time waltzes and tangos and slow waltzes. They used to call it grab a granny night. I don't know how many grannies they grabbed anyway, but it was called grab a granny night. But again, as I said, it lasted 13 years. That brought me then up to 1993. And then we done a few gigs down in the Spaniard in Kinsale on a Sunday afternoon. That used to be very good as well, packed. And we done Acton's Hotel Kinsale for jazz every Sunday morning with the Cork City Jazz Band. That lasted for years. Billy Crosby, Marco, Vic Lynch, Mick O'Brien, myself, and trombone player. Anyway, but and then we had done the Paul de Millin in Ballincollig with the Second City Jazz Band, Towie Rooney, and his daughter Ruth. They were a fine band as well, the Second City Jazz Band. And then we had my own band in the Evergreen Lounge and in Evergreen Road for the jazz weekend as well. And of course the most popular song there was Alice. Who the fuck was Alice? I know, yeah, that we used to play that 4 or 5 times a night. Who the is Alice?
On the radio, didn't we?
And that was the Evergreen. We done the Briar Rose. We done Driscoll's and Douglas. For God's sake, we done a lot of places. But they were great days. They were great days. The music scene then just took a dive because there was the dancing fell off. There was no. All you had was sing-song pubs, and then that started to die away. And then the drink driving came in, and then that was the end of it. And we played in Kinsale, we played in Acton's Hotel every Sunday morning. It was a jazz session, and I was with the Cork City Jazz Band. I was on piano, Marco was on trumpet, Mick O'Brien was on drums.
Singers?
Billy Crosby was playing piano as well, yeah. Sharon Crosby used to sing there, and Jean Crosby used to sing there, and Susan Crosby used to sing there. It's like a Crosby bill.
Deirdre Howrahan. I can remember her from the jazz, I think.
Deirdre Howrahan then, she sung with me then in a place called the Spaniard. We used to play in Acton's from 12 until 3. And then I'd start in the Spaniard. It's a bar way up the hill from Acton's Hotel. And we played there from 4 to 6. And Deirdre Howrahan would join me up there and she'd sing away. She's a fine singer. And we used to play there then from 4 until 6 o'clock. All young people used to be jammed, packed. They used to be open the road and everything else. That was 3 gigs on the Sunday, and that lasted about a month or 6 weeks, I suppose, roughly. That's the season started to die up then. And then from then on, then it was different pubs, different sing-songs, different places that you played in, and then we started in a place called the Hawthorne. That's up out in the loch. And I started there on a Thursday night. I always remember it. And I started there with 6 people, maybe 7. And 7 years afterwards, we were still there. As it went from 7 up to 200.
Yeah.
On a Thursday night, it became jammed. It became very popular because I'll tell you why. The people that were going there were fine singers. As a matter of fact, we done a video of all the singers that used to sing in the Hawthorne, and we made it for Marymount Hospice, and we made a couple of €1,000 out of selling the videos to the general public, who were very generous. They bought all the videos from Marymount, and it was a great success. I was delighted that we'd done it. And then I was there for 7 years. The Briar Rose, as a matter of fact, when I started with my own band for the jazz, then it was the Briar Rose that I started in. And Driscoll's Bar in Douglas I was in. The Briar Rose I was in. I was still playing with the Cork City Jazz Band in Kinsale on the same weekend as I was up and down. And I was with Harry and friends in the Metropole. So we had was that a busy few years, but again it was great. It was great. Badly missed. Yeah, terrible.
So that would take us up to the 90s, or to 2000s maybe?
You're into the 2000s now, yeah, you are. And then from the 2000s on, I suppose, things became slacker and slacker and slacker for music, for musicians. And the scene changed. Then it became nightclubs, and then live music began to die out. And a lot of discos came in then.
And karaoke would have come in too, yeah.
Karaoke, yeah. That became very popular, in fairness. As people used to love singing, and it was marvellous to be able to sing to a big backing group and a big orchestra and things like that, and it's fabulous. I wouldn't mind singing to a backing group either now, to be honest with you.
Fill my heart with song, and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, and I worship and adore. The world, how we in other words, I love you.
Hayfield Manor was a lovely place to play in, actually. Very easy, no pressure, no stress, no nothing, just nice background, soft music. And I think people loved it.
Brilliant.
And I loved it myself anyway.
And how many nights a week would you have done that, and for how long?
I did on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon, every weekend.
For a couple of years.
Oh, yeah. For a couple, yeah, about 4 to 5 years.
And you got you met loads of
I met lots of new friends, lots of new people, and they enjoyed the music, and I enjoyed playing for them, and what more could we ask for?
So, Dad, you won a Music Achievement Award?
That's right. That was in the year 2015 for the Jazz Weekend. They presented me with a Music Achievement for my life, time in music. So I was very honoured, of course, obviously, to receive it. It was lovely.
And it would have been at the Jazz Weekend, so a lot of the musicians wouldn't have been able to support it.
Yeah, so they were all working, obviously.
And all your family were there?
Oh, they were.
all there
All
to
the
support
family,
you.
yeah.
And that was in 2015.
2015, down in Silver Springs Hotel.
Last year, then, when we were in the lockdown in the summer,
Yeah.
with the COVID-19, you used to play out your piano on the fine days.
The piano, we used to bring it out and entertain the neighbours during the lockdown and the Dublin. There was a few bottles of whiskey passed in through the door in recognition of our participation with the music. And we loved it, and God's help, if the weather gets good again, we'll do the same again this year. And we look forward to it. I think a little bit of music creates a little bit of joy for everyone, I think.